So again, as we start recording, we're going to have John King tell on his Dem stories. So if we can focus on him, and as soon as you're done, Candidate King, we'll have a couple questions for you, and we'll thank you for joining us tonight. So the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thanks, everyone, for making time for the conversation tonight. Look, I'll tell you, the reason I'm a Democrat, the reason I entered public service, and the reason I'm running for governor all come back to my own experience as a kid with high-functioning public institutions that saved my life. Public schools saved my life. Both my parents passed away when I was a kid, my mom when I was 8, and my dad when I was 12. In the period when it was just my dad and me, my dad was struggling with undiagnosed Alzheimer's. And as a teenager, I got in a lot of trouble. Like many kids who've experienced trauma, I actually got kicked out of high school. I always tell people I'm the first United States Secretary of Education to have been kicked out of high school. But the thing that saved me during all that period was amazing public school teachers who invested in me, who believed in me, who were willing to give me a second chance and sometimes a third chance. And what they showed me is that public schools, public institutions, government can be a profoundly powerful force for good in people's lives. They made school a place that was safe and engaging and compelling, a place where I could be a kid when I couldn't be a kid at home. And that saved my life. And so I became a teacher and a principal because I wanted to try to do for other kids what teachers had done for me. And I have been blessed to have a career in education thanks to them that led me to be Secretary of Education for President Obama. And so as I think about the role that a governor plays, I'm very conscious of the ways in which different systems affect kids and families. I've seen that firsthand as an educator, whether it's housing or the criminal justice system, or whether or not their parents have a good job, food insecurity, access to healthcare. And so governors are uniquely positioned to work across the silos of government to help make people's lives better. And we need that in Maryland. We need a Democratic governor. So we have so many missed opportunities in terms of education. We ought to be providing the best education in the country here in Maryland. And unfortunately, we've fallen more to middle of the pack. We have an opportunity with the Blueprint for Maryland's Future to dramatically improve educational opportunities in the state, to make investments in early childhood education and teacher compensation and career and technical education. But the next governor will have to make sure that we follow through on the commitments in the blueprint and that we implement them well. I'm prepared to do that. We have a lot of missed opportunities around economic development. We ought to have a thriving, innovation-driven economy that's creating good jobs, particularly for communities that have been historically marginalized, but we've missed opportunities. We haven't leveraged our assets, University of Maryland system, Johns Hopkins, NIH, in the way that we should. We haven't made the investments we should in public transit, in the kind of infrastructure that will help drive economic opportunity. And we have gotten outcompeted too often by Virginia and other states that are attracting businesses that should be starting and growing here in Maryland. And so we ought to have a governor who's laser focused on our economic prosperity. I think one of the biggest mistakes Governor Hogan made was canceling the Red Line project in Baltimore City, which would have connected high poverty communities to where the jobs are. That would have driven economic growth, not just in Baltimore City, but in the state as a whole. And we've got significant missed opportunities in terms of the environment. Given the Chesapeake, given how much interior coastline we have, the climate change issue isn't a tomorrow problem for us, it's a today problem. We are losing farmland on the eastern shore to saltwater intrusion. You all know deeply in Howard County how much flooding we have regularly. That's an early sign of the impact of climate change. We have some of the worst air quality in the country. In Baltimore City, kids are literally missing school because of asthma due to air pollution. And yet we aren't leading on climate. We aren't creating the green economy of the future that we need. We aren't making the investment we should in offshore wind, in solar, in weatherization, in shifting over our state fleet, our school buses to electric buses, all the things we know we could do to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and prepare for a green future. And as we tackle all of these issues, we ought to be doing it with a mind towards equity. Let me close on that point. Our history in the state is a complicated one. I'm sitting in Silver Spring, Maryland, about 25 miles from where my great-grandfather was enslaved in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And the property where my great-grandfather was enslaved is still owned by the family that are direct line descendants of the family that owned my family. And the cabin in which my great-grandfather and his family lived as enslaved people is still standing on the property. I had the chance to spend time, to get to know the family and to spend time in that cabin. And to spend time there with my wife and daughters and to contemplate both how recent the institution of slavery was and how that's reflected in so many of the systemic inequalities that we still struggle with in the state, but also how profound it is that my family of 3 generations went from enslaved in that cabin to serving in the cabinet of the first Black president. That is what is possible if we create a society that is defined by opportunity for all. And as governor, I want to make sure that opportunity is available to every child, every family in the state, in every region, of every race, regardless of immigration status, regardless of what language folks speak in their house. We can be that opportunity society. So glad to take questions as well.
Candidate King, thank you so much for coming out. I'm going to ask you, because you've covered so much, equity, the blueprint for schools, green economy. Thank you so much. Quick question. You've covered so many issues. You've talked about we are all aware of your notable accomplishments, but let's talk about the party for a moment. You see so many labels: Democrat, progressive, moderate, establishment Dem is the latest what I'm hearing. What thoughts do you have about unification in the party and how important those labels actually are?
And to my mind, the key thing is we as a party have to campaign for every vote in the state, and we have to help people understand why the things we're fighting for as Democrats will help make their everyday lives better, right? We don't have paid family leave. That's crazy. We should, that is fundamental to making it so that people can take care of a sick relative, so that people can support their families. Right? That's not a Republican issue, a Democratic issue. That's not a Baltimore City issue. That's not a rural issue. That's an everybody issue. In Baltimore City, when you talk to folks about what they need, one of the things they point out is that there aren't enough MARC trains. There's not a Republican or a Democratic way to make sure there are enough MARC trains. That's for Democrats, we have to make the argument that we're going to make the investment necessary in public transit so that there are enough MARC trains so that people can commute, so that people can sell their homes, so that we can grow our economy, right? So I think we've got to fight for the opportunity to put our ideas in front of people, not worry as much about the labels as we are about presenting real solutions to the everyday problems that folks are struggling with.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was a remarkable memory when you talked about your family. Do you have like a favorite moment when you were serving in a Democratic capacity that you want us to know about? Something?
Sure. You know, my favorite moments when I was in the Obama administration was when we launched a program called Second Chance Pell, which is a program where we tried to make it possible for folks who are incarcerated to get higher education while in prison. In the 94 crime bill, one of the many mistakes that was made was a ban on Pell Grants, federal assistance for higher education for folks who are incarcerated. Hundreds of programs across the country closed almost immediately. And 95% of the people incarcerated, they're coming home. It's in their interest, our interest, the community's interest for everyone to come back home with more skills so that they can support themselves. So we created a pilot project in the Obama administration to allow folks to access Pell Grants at 65 colleges and universities partnering with local prisons. We announced that at Jessup Prison in Maryland. And that pilot project then became an argument for changing the law. And then when I left the administration, I came to lead an education and civil rights organization called the Education Trust. We've been fighting for the last few years to change the law. And last December, finally, Congress changed the law. And now Pell Grants are available for folks incarcerated throughout the country. That is going to make communities safer. And it's going to create a path to opportunity for generations of folks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. On a parting note, if there was one thing you wanted people to remember about you in your DEM story, what would it be?
Teachers. Teachers saved my life. I became a teacher. And as Democrats, it's our job to fight for teachers. That's what the blueprint is about. That's what building a strong society is about. Taking care of our children. So I was saying that's what building a great society is about, taking care of our children. And that's what we ask of our teachers. And so we ought to invest in our teachers. So thank you for the opportunity to join you. I will tell you, someone asked in the chat about policy platforms. And I'll say I started a progressive advocacy organization in the state called Strong Future Maryland. And if you go on our Strong Future Maryland website, there's an issues page there. And what you'll see is not just things I want to talk about, but things we actually worked on. We testified on 66 bills last session. 23 of them became law. And I hope you'll take a look at that and see the kind of work we've been doing.
Okay, excellent. Well, my last question was your contact. So thank you, strongfuturemaryland.org. And issues are there. We are grateful for your time. I'm sure we will see you again, and good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much. And also our campaign website is johnkingforgovernor.com. Thanks so much for the opportunity to join you. Have a wonderful night.
All right, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.